Good afternoon, my friends. Before we dive in, I kindly ask you to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your friends who share the same passion. Now, without further delay, let's get straight to the point, because what we have to talk about today really matters. Something is happening around CJ Gardner-Johnson, and it feels like the story is far from over. The man who once brought pure electricity to Philadelphia's defense, swagger, energy, and fire, has once again found himself in the middle of another NFL twist. Released by the Baltimore Ravens after a short stint on their practice squad, Gardner-Johnson now stands at a crossroads that feels strangely familiar. And if you ask me, this might be the perfect storm for a Philadelphia reunion. Let's rewind a bit. CJ's journey has been a roller coaster. Drafted by the Saints back in 2019, the Florida Gator was known for his toughness, versatility, and a mouth that could light up any opposing sideline. That edge made him both loved and hated. But in Philly, it made him ours. When the Eagles traded for him right before the 2022 season, they weren't just getting a player. They were getting an identity. He tied for the NFL lead in interceptions that year, 6 picks, even after missing time with a nasty rib injury, and helped lead one of the best defenses in football all the way to the Super Bowl. That year, Philadelphia's defense had teeth. It hit, it barked, it intimidated, and CJ was the pulse of that unit. But as Eagles fans know too well, this league moves fast. When his contract ended, he went to Detroit. 1 year, another injury, then a brief playoff return, and after that, he came back home. 2024 was his redemption run. He helped Philly lift another Lombardi, a second ring in 3 seasons for the Birds. The swagger returned, the defense found its bite again, and you could feel the difference with number 23 roaming deep and chirping in every huddle. Then came the shocker, a trade to the Houston Texans for Kenyon Green. At first it made no sense, Philly shipping away the emotional leader of its defense just months after hoisting the trophy. But behind the scenes, whispers about locker room tension resurfaced. Howie Roseman wanted to protect the future, maybe save a few million. CJ, being CJ, didn't always fit neatly into the corporate structure of an NFL front office, so off he went to Houston. Injured knee, limited games, flashes of brilliance, and then released, out of nowhere. You'd think that would be the end of the chapter, but CJ Gardner-Johnson doesn't go quietly. Within days, he signs with the Ravens practice squad. And then, today, that ends too. His agent calls it a mutual decision, claiming they wanted a clearer path to playing time after Baltimore traded for another safety. Maybe true, maybe just PR. But what comes next might be the real story, because CJ took to social media right after. He posted a message.
"Not of bitterness, but gratitude. I just want to thank all the teams I've been a part of," he wrote. "Every experience has helped me grow both on and off the field. My passion for this game is still strong, and I'm excited to keep working." The final line hit hard. God's plan. Some fans wondered if it was a goodbye to football. It wasn't. It was a message that he's still ready, still fighting, still looking for a home. And let's be honest, we all know where that home is. Because Philadelphia isn't like any other city. The fans here don't just want good players. They want warriors. They want players who feel like Philly, a little loud, a little rough, but loyal to the bone. CJ Gardner-Johnson embodies that better than almost anyone this decade. When he's on the field, the defense has a heartbeat. Without him, it looks flat. Against the Giants last week, the Eagles' defense was everything Philly isn't: timid, lifeless, soft. They looked scared to tackle, scared to attack. There was no swagger, no emotion, no CJ. That's why fans are starting to talk again. Why not bring him back again? After all, this team just lost Zadarius Smith to retirement, leaving a hole on the roster and, more importantly, in leadership. CJ has 12 interceptions in 28 games with the Eagles. He's a proven playmaker, a leader who makes everyone around him sharper. And even though he's had his share of injuries, even though he's been a handful for some locker rooms, maybe, just maybe, Philly is the one place where he truly fits. It wouldn't even be unprecedented. Remember Billy Martin and the Yankees? Fired and rehired 5 times. Sometimes, you just belong somewhere, even when it's complicated. For CJ, that somewhere is here. And maybe the Eagles already know it, because right after the Ravens released him, the Eagles made a quiet move, releasing running back Audric Estime from the practice squad. That opened a slot. Coincidence? Maybe. But if you followed Howie Roseman long enough, you know there are no coincidences in that building. Every move has a purpose, every release a ripple. And when you put the pieces together, a free practice squad spot, a free 53-man roster slot after Smith's retirement, and a defensive unit desperate for energy, the pattern starts to look familiar. To top it off, CJ himself liked to tweet suggesting a return to Philadelphia. He even followed the account back. You don't do that if you've moved on. You do that if you're waiting for a call. Maybe the better question is, how could they not? Because if we're being honest, this Eagles defense isn't the same without him. The numbers tell you part of the story. Missed tackles, blown coverages, no emotion. But the real issue isn't in the stats. It's in the energy. You can feel it. The unit that once prided itself on breaking opponents will now seems to be the one getting pushed around. There's no trash talk, no swagger, no statement plays that make a team like New York think twice about coming across the middle. That's what CJ Gardner-Johnson brought every single snap. He wasn't just a safety. He was a spark, a tone setter, a player who made the defense believe again. When you think back to that Super Bowl run, it's impossible not to see his fingerprints everywhere. The communication in the secondary, the edge on every down, the way he'd fire up teammates on the sideline, it all mattered. And now, watching this current defense hesitate instead of attack, it feels like the heartbeat has flatlined. There's talent everywhere, Darius Slay, Quinyon Mitchell, Andrew Mukuba, but something's missing. Leadership, voice, grit, the kind that only CJ seems to bring when he's wearing midnight green. And you can bet Vic Fangio sees it too. He's one of the most respected defensive minds in football, and you know this has to drive him crazy. The missed assignments, the soft zone play, the lack of energy in critical downs. It's not who the Eagles are supposed to be. Fangio's scheme thrives on communication, trust, and aggression. And when your safeties are getting lost in coverage or colliding with corners, like we saw against Wan'Dale Robinson, it exposes everything. You can't win a championship that way. Not in this city. Not in this league. Not when you've built your identity on being the bullies of the NFC. CJ's return could change all of that instantly. He gives you versatility, can play safety, can drop into the slot, can blitz, can talk his way into the opponent's head before the first whistle. He lets you move pieces around. With him back, Quinyon Mitchell could stay on the outside where he's best, and Cooper DeJean could shift into a hybrid role that fits Fangio's system perfectly. That kind of flexibility isn't something you find in October. It's rare, and it's sitting right there, waiting for a phone call. Sure, there are risks. He's been injured more than you'd like, and he's not the easiest personality to manage. But let's be honest, if you can handle Philadelphia fans, you can handle CJ Gardner-Johnson. The culture here isn't fragile, it's forged in adversity. And maybe that's exactly why CJ fits here and nowhere else. Other teams want controlled intensity. Philly thrives on chaos. They don't need a polite leader, they need a fighter. A voice that cuts through the noise and reminds everyone what this jersey means. Even the front office has to feel the pressure. They've been here before. When they let CJ walk in 2023, the defense fell apart. The tackling got worse, the swagger vanished, and suddenly everyone was asking, what happened to the edge? Then they brought him back in 2024, and all of those questions disappeared overnight. The defense toughened up, the team regained its bite, and another Lombardi trophy came home. It's not a coincidence. It's a pattern. Every time CJ Gardner-Johnson wears Eagles green, this team looks different, hungrier, nastier, more alive. And right now, that's exactly what they need. Because make no mistake, this season is teetering. The offense is inconsistent, the defense looks disconnected, and the NFC is brutal. There's no room for hesitation. You either fix your problems now or you watch your window close. The Eagles have the talent to win another Super Bowl, but the energy has to change. The locker room needs a jolt, and CJ Gardner-Johnson might be the one guy capable of providing it. So, what's stopping them? Pride? Past issues? Money? None of that should matter if your goal is to win. Howie Roseman is known for being bold, trading, restructuring, finding value where no one else sees it. This move would be classic Howie. Bring back a guy who knows the system, who's still loved by the fans, who instantly raises the defense's ceiling. And even if it's just a practice squad deal at first, you know it wouldn't stay that way for long. Because once CJ gets in the building, once he starts flying around in practice, once that fire starts spreading again, it's only a matter of time before he's back in the lineup where he belongs. You can almost picture it, Lincoln Financial Field on a cold Sunday, crowd roaring as number 23 sprints out of the tunnel one more time. The swagger returns, the defense finds its rhythm, and suddenly Philly feels like Philly again. So maybe this isn't just about a player. Maybe it's about identity, about remembering who this team really is when the lights are brightest. The city of brotherly love doesn't settle for soft. It doesn't accept flat. It demands heart, energy, and defiance. And CJ Gardner-Johnson embodies every bit of that spirit. Now the question is, will Howie Roseman make that call and bring him home for the third time? And if he does, could CJ be the missing piece that reignites another Super Bowl run? What do you think, Eagles fans? Should Philly reunite with CJ Gardner-Johnson and bring the fire back to this defense? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget, if you love this kind of deep Eagles coverage, hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and check out the next video on your screen. Fly, Eagles, fly. Because if we're being real, this team has reached a crossroads, not just schematically, but emotionally. You can see it in the way they've played the past few weeks. Flashes of brilliance followed by stretches of confusion. You can feel it in the fan base too, that uneasy silence that comes when something feels off. It's not panic, not yet, but it's that creeping thought in every Philadelphia fan's mind. Where's the fire we used to have? And maybe that's exactly what CJ Gardner-Johnson represents, the fire that's been missing. You can't teach that kind of attitude. You can't fake that level of emotion. It's not about stats or contracts or PFF grades. It's about how a player makes the rest of the team feel when he's on the field. When CJ's out there, everyone plays faster, louder, meaner. And that matters. You can't measure it, but you can see it in every defensive stand, every sideline moment, every third down stop when the crowd explodes and the opposing quarterback starts to flinch. That's what this defense needs back. Look, the Eagles have built something special these past few seasons, a roster filled with young stars, strong veterans, and one of the most innovative front offices in football. But the truth is, championship windows don't stay open forever. Every year in the NFL is fragile, and if you don't keep the emotional core of your team intact, that window starts to close faster than anyone expects. Bringing back CJ wouldn't just be a personnel move, it would be a statement to the locker room and the league. Philadelphia is not going quietly. And honestly, the timing couldn't be more perfect. With the bye week coming up, you'd have the chance to ease him in, get him back up to speed in the system he already knows, and prepare him for the stretch run. You think Minnesota, Dallas, or San Francisco wants to deal with a defense that suddenly rediscovered its edge?